I was speaking with KJ Preston with Jake Heffernan, who's coming off a submission win at Fury FC 67. Jake, how are you?
Doing well, man. Doing well.
Awesome, man. I'm very happy to be talking with you. It's been 4 days since your fight. How you feeling?
Good, very good, man. It's always nice living on the high of the victory as well as the finish. Already starting to plan the next steps of the career. But yeah, a couple of bumps and bruises healing up, but mostly from blocking stuff. So that's always nice.
Awesome, dude. Well, how did you feel about your performance?
Very good. We had a game plan from the coaches and myself. Luna had actually fought one of my teammates before and actually gotten a victory. So there was plenty of tape to study up and then performance wise, off of the game plan, it was to get behind the jab, use the grappling if we needed it, but really actually wanted to keep it standing and for the most part didn't really shoot any takedowns. Kind of hit more so on like clashes off of combo exchanges, and then I for some reason have always had a good ability to find the body lock and then hit the back takes. So it all came together really well.
How did it feel to get a submission win, man? It's been a little while.
Yeah, that guillotine is my favorite submission overall. I hit that guillotine so many times in camp. Like not even exaggerating, I probably hit it over 300 times in training. There was one day I was training with the other pros from around Houston, and I hit that submission 16 times in 1 hour. I know because we counted, because my coach was like, stop doing the guillotine. And I was like, I'll stop doing the guillotine when they stop putting their necks in my hands. So
That's awesome, dude. Awesome. Man, I mean, I wanted to ask how did it feel to be back in the win column?
it's always so nice to be in the win column, especially after the last couple of camps. I was scheduled to fight Boston Salmon for my last one, and unfortunately, the loves of my life, my two children, they got the flu on fight week, and I tried to wear a mask and clean my hands and stay as healthy as possible, but I got hit with that flu like a ton of bricks, and so that was an unfortunate pull on the day of the fight.
Hmm.
And then beyond that, the Dimitri Ivy fight that didn't go my way, I still feel like I did enough to get the nod in that fight. But it is what it is in MMA. You can't leave it in the judges' hands. So it's one of those things where when you clutch up and know to get the finish, it all just makes everything worth it. So it was glorious to be back in not only the win column but the finish column as well.
How frustrating was it for you to pull out of that Boston Salmon fight? Because I know how, it's very important to you. He got the call to the PFL shortly after. Like, how frustrating was that?
It was one of those things where him being a formerly signed UFC fighter was one of those step up moments, and even on weigh-ins day, I the coach was like, dude, you look terrible. I don't know if we're going to let you fight, but we're going to go to the weigh-ins. We're going to see what we can do. And it all came down to like literally the morning of, and I'm still not able to hold any food down and in the bathroom for pretty much the whole morning. And my coaches all showed up, and we all sat down and talked it out, and we ended up making a call where basically my coach said, can you win this fight? And if my answer wasn't hell yeah, then he was going to pull me. And I could barely even answer. I was so out of it and so loopy from just the high temperature, cutting weight. I'm putting myself in a hot room, and my body temperature was already at like 103 degrees, and then I'm boiling my brain at 111 degrees over time trying to get the weight off. So
Yeah.
it was just one of those, got to make a good career choice, and so it was very frustrating. But on the same end, I like to consider myself a very respectful fighter, and I'm glad that he was able to get a call to shift his career towards something else that he could be successful with. So my hats off to him. I know he got like a TKO in the PFLs after that. So it's just one of those things where it was really just a perfect storm for both of us. It set me up to get this match. It set me up to be able to take my super fights like I usually do throughout the year. So it's just just one of those unfortunate situations, but it's nothing you can look on and dwell on. You just got to move past it. So it was unfortunate, but that's just the situation we had at the time.
Thanks for sharing that, man. Were you supposed to return in June as well?
You know, I was I'm one of those fighters where I'll get a match and then I'll get dropped on, and then I'll get a match and then I'll get dropped on. And with me, I, get offered a fight and it's within a day or 2 days that I make a decision. I don't think I've ever said no to a matchup in my entire career. My coaches don't, they have utter confidence in me, and through that I have utter confidence in myself. So when I say, like, I literally don't think I've ever said no to a match, but I'll get guys that just constantly, they'll think that they want to fight me and then they'll go look up some video and then they'll miraculously get injured or decide they want to pull out or just not ever answer the promoter back on a yes or a no. I think the guy's name was Josh Wiesel or something like that. And yeah, I don't know what happened, man. We were good to go. We were geared up. I signed the contract within, an hour of receiving it. And then it just ended up not happening. So yeah, unfortunately, that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. I already told the promoter I'm ready to go. I've already let Mick Maynard and Sean Shelby and all those guys know in the UFC I'm ready to go. And I'm ready for my next call up because I'm tired of these guys dodging me. So even as far as wanting to initially call out the two champs or the guys that were fighting for the belt on fight night, but my coach was yelling at me on the post fight speech to be respectful, and I was like, all right, I'll calm down. But like, these guys are all on a list, and they can't say no forever. Eventually, they'll say no at the wrong time, and the promoter will just start to not match them up anymore. And I'm not looking for favorable matchups. I'm just looking for matchups. So it's just one of those things that it just it I'll get the call, and then I'll get another call saying, oh, they said no, or they never answered, or their coaches won't let them fight you. And which is weird because when these guys get to the UFC, they're gonna be washouts. They're gonna fight one guy in the UFC. Like, I hate to tell you guys this, but they're all like me. Every one of them. They're all the best guys in their city. I am the best guy at 145 in Houston. And so you got to fight me eventually. That's just the way it is.
Right. You've been around this game for a long time, man. For anybody that does not know your story, how did you get into mixed martial arts?
Oh man, so yeah, um, my coach hates these stories, but I grew up in Cypress, Texas, and it, that's a hit or miss on neighborhood to neighborhood. Some neighborhoods are nice and gated and very respectful, and then the next neighborhood over has a bunch of broken fences and broke down cars in the front yards. And if you walk down the street, you're liable to get asked what's in your pockets. And so, like, I grew up in a rough area. I went to a rough school, Cypress Springs High School, graduating class of 2008. So, but I went to high school with Derek Lewis. So my school was a fighting school. I mean, every single day there were fights. And so eventually, with all of us fighting each other, we decided to do something very stupid, which was line up backyard brawls. And when I was about 6 backyard street fights into it without having lost any of them, I just decided, I was like, I like doing this. I think I'm going to go find a gym. And so at that point, I went to Gracie Baja, started at a different Gracie Baja gym in Houston. And then at that gym, I met Alex Morano and Ricky Tercios.
Oh, okay.
And meeting them, I saw these two guys that were chasing the dream. They were both younger than me by a year and 2 years and 3 years. And so I just made a choice to get myself in with them, become their friends, become their teammate. Eventually now I work with both of them. Alex Morano owns the gym that I work at. I'm his second in command for teaching classes. It's through them that I met Matt Wald, who was our forever striking coach. And it was just one of those things. I showed up every day. Every single day I got into the gym, and I either got there after work, or I would skip work to go, and I would make a point to be there. And it was about 2.5 years into training that Alex was like, "Hey, you're here more than the guys that fight. Do you want to fight?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." And so my first fight was a TKO in the first round, with 1 second left. And I mean, at that point, it was like, all right, this is what I'm supposed to do. And had a good amateur career, and then just one of my dreams in life was to be a professional athlete. So getting to change from amateur fighter to pro fighter was just a dream come true. But yeah, it all started back in Cypress Springs with getting into fights with the other high school kids all the time, and just finding a talent in that. And it's funny because at first fighting was very scary. It was very terrifying. I would walk around the school. I was very small. My body was small, but my mouth was big, and so I would get myself in trouble a lot. I remember the first fight that I ever really, like, the real first fight I ever got into was in front of all my friends and my parents at my house in my front yard. And I got the ever living crud beat out of myself by this gigantic dude. And then my brother, at the time, was like, "Hey, you can't, you can't have a mouth like that and then get beat up like that." So he taught me how to fight. For the very limited experience that he had, he just taught me how to throw some punches and kicks. And that's kind of how it started, was getting beat up that one time, and then saying nope. And that's basically how the backyard brawls started. So, but yeah, fighting, it's been fighting forever, man. I remember being, a young little kid in elementary school, and wanting to scrap down with my friends, but never like, hey, let's shadow box, let's push each other around and wrestle. It was like, hey, if we're gonna fight, we're gonna fight. Like, if you hit me, I'm hitting you back. Like, and none of that playing around stuff. Like, we can be friends after, we can be friends before, but during the fight, we're fighting.
Mm.
And so it's just one of those things that kind of, I think it was just bred into me. So
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that, man. I find it fascinating how professional fighters start fighting. It's everyone has a different story. Some people come from broken homes. Some people just grow up fighting. Some people just saw the sport and were like, I want to do that.
yeah, yeah. I remember actually the first time I ever got a UFC magazine, or maybe not even UFC, just like a sports fitness magazine. And in the magazine, they had Chuck Liddell was the champ at the time, and it showed just like his hands, and it just showed like, would you want to fight these hands? And I remember thinking, yeah, yeah, I would do that. And so it was just, the I think the very first live show I ever watched was from Strike Force. I think Artinius Machine Gun Young was one of the guys on the card, and then Chad Robichaux, and I think he was the main event. And that was my first pro show ever. And it was just one of those things where, as soon as I got that first glimpse of real MMA too, it just kind of, it made it even more of like a, oh yeah, I'm going to be addicted to this. So, and then beyond that, my very first MMA coach, God rest his soul, had an unfortunate accident last year, with a gun going off. Um, Gerardo Abadi, he was, the greatest in the world. Didn't get to go far with his career because of injuries and complications with his back and stuff. But that guy saw something in me when I went to that first Gracie Baja. He was my first coach, and he saw something in me. He told me that I would do this well. And again, God rest his soul. He left behind 2 children and a wife, and I hope to be able to take care of them in the future based off of my career, and of course, take care of my own family, take care of my gym and my teammates. But that fight definitely is dedicated to Gerardo for sure, because he's my day one, and I miss him thoroughly.
Well, thanks for sharing that, man. And wherever he is, I'm sure he's looking down and
Oh,
Yeah.
he's in Valhalla right now. He's clicking the chalices with the other guys, and he's laughing that I choked Louis Lute out with that guillotine. That guillotine is one of those chokes where, like, Professor Alex Morono, he's like, oh, those Armin guillotines don't really work that well in MMA. And I remember him saying that, and I was like, really? You don't think that okay? So that means I got to prove you wrong. And so I love that Armin guillotine. That is my bread and butter guillotine. I actually don't like the classic guillotine that much because the Armin guillotine leads to the front headlock. The front headlock you can reload the sprawl with it. You can take the back. You can set up triangles with it. You can set up arm bars with it, and you can set up nasty guillotines. And it's funny, that guillotine, I don't do it like everybody else. Most guys will try to get your neck on the forearm. The way that I do it is a chin strap where my thumb stays with my fingers, and I use this meaty part of the bony part of the hand to really like lift in on the throat. And you either are going to vomit or you're going to pass out, or you're going to tap because you don't want to vomit or pass out. So it was funny when that guy would shoot his doubles in other fights, we would just study on the way he did it. And I've watched the fight video. And so when he throws the kick in the beginning of the round, I checked that kick as hard as I possibly could with my shin. And I know that he felt it. And I have to, somebody will have to ask him, but I'm pretty sure he shot because his leg was on fire. And so when I scooped that neck up, I remember before my butt hit the ground, I was like, all right, this fight's done. Because I've hit that guillotine so many times. I'm a black belt under Alex Morono. So it's just one of those feel things where as soon as it got in, I was like, you can even look at the pictures. I was already smiling by the time my butt hit the ground because I knew that he was going to have to tap to it. So that guillotine, that again, that's my bread and butter. No one's getting out of that too many times. So the first time he shot, I tried to find it without wasting too much arm energy. But that last time, that was the money shot for sure.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, I did want to say I am class of '08 as well.
Oh, nice.
And I wasn't sure this off, but your beard is fantastic.
Oh, thank you, sir. Yes, many people don't know this, but all the power and technique derives from the beard. This thing's not going anywhere anytime soon. As I've had people be like, "You're going to throw people for a loop one day and shave the beard," and I'm like, "That'll never happen. It would have to be burned off my body." And the other thing about choking him with this right hand, this is the hand that I got shot in 2 years ago, and maybe not a lot of people know, but I was in that hunting accident. I was with Alex Morono and Matthew Wald and one of our students, Graham, and we were out hunting boars for the day. And we were actually done hunting. We put all the rifles away, but we all still had our sidearms on us. And as we were picking up the kills for the day, putting them in the back of the truck, we hit a hard bump on the road, and one of the revolvers fell out of a holster and hit the ground and went off, and I got caught in the elbow with the 45 hollow point bullet. And it was just to be able to be here 2.5 years later, choking people and punching people with this right hand after the doctors told me I probably wouldn't move it again. It's another very gratifying thing to be able to say, like, you can break my leg in a fight, which happened, and I still fought on it for 3 rounds. You can try to pin me on my back. You can punch me, you can kick me, you can elbow me, but I'm still coming no matter what. Nothing can stop me, man. You can literally shoot me and I will still have the confidence to keep pushing forward. So it's just one of those things where that mind over matter plays such a huge factor. And it's funny, one little thing is that when Alex fought 2 weeks previous in Dallas, we all know Alex is a monster in the cage. He likes to chunk those overhand rights, and he gets super amped up, and most of his walkout songs are like death metal, but his walkout song was Sweet Child of Mine. And there was such a calming situation on that when we all started to walk out into the arena in Dallas. And that was one of the things in camp was stay calm, control the chaos. Don't let somebody, cause you to get so amped up. Your adrenaline's dumping so hard, you make bad choices. And it was funny when Luna was like pumping his hands at me trying to brawl, and I was like, no, jab, jab, jab. It's just my coach the whole time, Matthew Wald, was like, we're gonna get behind the jab, we're gonna move our feet, and we're gonna keep that right hand glued. He's like, find the jab, the right hand will be there when you need it. You don't have to try to find it. So it was just everything culminated so well for that fight, and it's just, without your coaches and your teammates, you really don't have uh you don't have longevity in the sport. And so I just cannot thank Gracie Baja, the Woodlands MMA. I just cannot thank them enough for standing behind me, especially through the thick and the thin of injuries and life altering and changing events. And it's just, my hat's off to all of them for sticking by me. And of course, Iridium, Jason House, man, he had the team checking on me every week after not only I broke my leg, but I got shot 6 months after I broke my leg in the fight with Paris Stanford. So they would call me every week and be like, "Hey, how are you? What do you need?" And it's like, I'm not fighting. I'm injured. I'm on the injury list. There's a possibility I'm never fighting again. And they were like, "We got your back, dude. We're here for you. You're not on your own. If you need a book to read, we'll send you the book. If you need supplements to help you heal, we'll send you the supplements." And it's like, so it's just, again, the support system is everything in MMA, and my MMA team, my coaches, my family, and then my managing team is something that helped push me to reach this level.
Man, that's awesome. Going back to the bullet, what was the recovery like on that?
Oh,
And then also, sorry to cut you off, but also like when you were told that you might not be able to move your arm again and not fight again, like what was going through your mind?
I refuse to accept that. I remember when the doctor, I remember being in the emergency room because of this very unprofessionalism of the people that were in the ambulance that initially picked me up. I got picked up by by two guys that were morbidly obese that had no business even driving in an ambulance. Really quick, I'm going to grab the bullet so you guys can see it, because I still have the bullet that they took out of my shoulder. They gave me the wrong medicine when I got shot. So I had to deal with the pain of that bullet shot for 4 hours. And so I just never got to get anything to heal or at least to take away that initial amount of pain. And this was the bullet that was inside my shoulder.
Uh,
It entered through my elbow, and then if I can pull this sleeve up through my elbow, right there, they had to slice my elbow open, or my bicep open, in order to get to the veins, because the veins got my vein got split open by the bullet. So it was upsetting. But when I finally got to Houston from the BFE that I was in the middle of the forest, the hospital, they didn't have any of the stuff I needed. They literally just, I had my buddy's shirt tied around my arm as a tourniquet, and then they said, we don't have any of the stuff to heal you, so we're going to put you in this helicopter. They're going to take you to Houston, and they'll fix you. And so I had to wait for the helicopter to get prepped, and then I'm still sitting there with no pain medicine because they couldn't give me the pain medicine I needed, because what they put in me in the ambulance made it to where I wasn't able to take anything else. So I had to take four bags of saline solution to filter my blood out from the stuff they gave me before I could receive like morphine. And so that was hard enough. And then when I got to the actual emergency room where they were going to do the surgery, they said, we might have to cut his arm off. And I was like, whoa, 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 pump the brakes, guys. I'm a professional athlete. I need to use this hand to punch people. You can't cut my arm off. And they were like, hey, buddy, you'll be lucky to keep the arm for real. But for some miraculous reason, the Lord be with me. Maybe some people say Jesus take the wheel. I feel like Jesus grabbed that bullet halfway through my shoulder and just stopped it because it rested right here. I have a little scar, but it's right here. There's no way for my face to like look away for that to not go into my head. And they literally told me like, we don't know how the bullet didn't even open them because it's also a hollow point and it didn't mushroom. It just stayed intact, which is weird. But and so it just my body tightened up and kept everything together. And then, I literally told them like, hey, you're not taking my arm. And luckily they had somebody come in who had actually known who I was because we were in Houston at that point. So he was like, hey, don't worry, I'm going to tell him not to cut your arm off and we'll see what we can do. And they ended up replacing the vein in my arm with a vein out of my leg. So I got a big, nice 9-inch scar on the inside of my thigh to go with the scar on the inside of my bicep. And they took that out, the brachial vein, and then replaced it with what they would use for a triple bypass surgery. They used that to replace the vein. And about a month after the actual initial injury, I started rehab, and my hand was doing this.
Wow.
And and then luckily Andy Cox, the rehab specialist over at Ironman Sports Complex and Rehabilitation, he said, don't worry, the surgeons don't ever see you guys after the surgery. They don't know how healing works. He's like, what did they tell you the heal time was? And I said 2 years. And they said, and I might never move the hand again. And he was like, okay, well, we're going to go back to them in 6 weeks and we're going to move that hand again. And it's funny, to this day, I still feel all the pain of, the nerve damage. Basically, the first 3 fingers are completely numb. So doing this, I don't feel it. It's totally. There's a lot of like residual nerve damage in these fingers. It feels like my hand's on fire all the time. All the time from morning, noon, and night. And that's just one of those things that I have to deal with. And it's an unfortunate lifelong injury they said I'm going to have, but it just motivates me more. It motivated me the entire time. I remember the day that I started to be able to move my thumb again. I remember when Alex, we were out for sushi like maybe 6 months after, and I was still, still trying to get the strength back in. But I picked up a pair of chopsticks, and I was getting the sushi off the table, and he goes, "Hey, you can use chopsticks now." And I was like, "Yeah." And then I also remember the day I could flick a lighter again. It's just one of those things where those small little things become your small victories in life. And but yeah, there was never any doubt in my mind that I would be fighting again and choking people again. And when I got shot, I was a brown belt, so I was like, nope, I want my black belt more than I want to be in the UFC. I want my black belt, so I'm gonna fix this so I can achieve the goals that I set early on in life, which was, be a father. I have 2 children, Ronan and Zeppelin. Ronan's 5, Zeppelin's 3. They're the loves of my life. Be a champion in MMA. We're very close to that one. Be a pro athlete and get in the UFC. And I am a professional athlete, and I feel like I always feel like I'm knocking on the UFC's door. So, and they're gonna love this story when I get in. They're gonna be like, "Well, what have you been through?" And I'll be like, "Well, when I was mending a broken leg from an MMA fight that I fought on for 3 rounds, I broke that leg in the first 10 seconds of that fight. So to be on the 3rd round wobbling around on it was one of those achievements in life where I kind of put that to my toughness as well. And that's why I say I'll never get finished in that Fury cage again, because you would have to break my leg, shoot me, and then I'd still be coming. So yeah, it's definitely one of those mind over matter situations where you can't let the doctors scare you with their words. They don't know. They don't know what it's like to train with the monsters of Houston every single day. Alex Moreno and Ricky Tercios put me through the ringer. That's the Ultimate Fighter champ, and that's the UFC's new journeyman. So you can't count yourself out when stuff like that happens. You just gotta, again, mind over matter. You just gotta say, nope, I don't accept it, and I didn't, and here we are. 9-3 with a juicy guillotine finish to back it up. So It's just one of those things where you can't let other people's opinions affect the way that you want to lead your life. And I didn't, and I won't, and I'm happy for that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. Finally, what's next? When would you like to return? And do you have an opponent in mind?
I'm looking at November. I'm trying to get matched up with Fury for November. UFC. I'm ready for a short notice call. I'm on weight still right now. If I need to go to 55, I can make that in a day. Literally. If I need to go to 45, I can make that in 4 or 5 days. So it's just one of those things where I'm ready to go for the UFC at any time. And I'll fight anybody in the UFC. If somebody falls out on Volkanovski, let me know. I'll fight the champ for my first UFC fight. I don't care. I'll fight anybody, anybody, anywhere, anytime. I'll fight the new champ, Aliev. I'll fight the former champ, Nate Richardson. I'll fight anybody in the UFC category, anybody in the Fury category. There's nobody I won't fight that, with a good camp and the right team behind you. All short notice wise, UFC, long, full camp wise, anybody, for Fury. You just gotta let me know who. So, there's even a possibility that I might be doing 55 for Fury if we can't get a 45 matchup, because I don't know what's up with these featherweights, but they're all ducking me for the last 7 years of trying to get matchups. So again, it's just whoever they put in front of me is going to get knocked down next. So, you just gotta you just you just gotta say, hey, who's next? That's, I just actually made a post today off of the highlight video of the finish, and I tagged Dana, I tagged Sean Shelby, I tagged Mick Maynard and Eric Garcia and Jason House, and I said, who is next? Because it doesn't matter who. You just got to give me a date and a person, and I'll be there.
Awesome. Awesome. Jake, thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. If you want to plug your social media, plug any sponsors, thank anybody, the floor is yours.
Yeah, man. So Jake GBTW on Instagram, and then I have my Jake Heffernan Pro MMA Fighter on Facebook. As always, Gracie Baja, the Woodlands MMA Gym. That's my home. That's where I teach. I'm the head MMA coach. I am the assistant kids jujitsu coach, and I also assist on the adult jujitsu classes. And then beyond that, is my lovely sponsors. Just went ahead and grabbed my fight shorts. Boars All Day. Where do you guys think I got shot? Boars All Day. They're my lifelong sponsors now, because they had never had anybody get shot on the property before. I was the first to do that and then survive. Dream Honey. They've been giving me the Dream Melatonin. I go to sleep with it every single night. I take a little dose of it before I go to bed. Have the most glorious dreams in the world off of it, and I've actually grown to like. I'm calling them constantly to get another jar of it as soon as I get close to running out, because it really is amazing stuff. Um, Actually, new one, Casey Ray, construction. They just picked me up. One of the parents at the gym, actually, for the students that I teach, was like, you know what, man? Hey, we like your career. We believe in you. We want to support you. And then they came in clutch. I actually lost my mouthpiece in Dallas when I went and cornered Alex, and in my pro mouth guard. So I was like saying like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I got to get this new mouthpiece, but it's so expensive to like not just order it and get a custom one made, but then to have them expedite it to me within only a week, because I'm fighting in like 10 days at that point. And so they funded that. So I really appreciate them. Uh, we got Vinny Vincent Real Estate. He's the guy who put me in this glorious house right here. He's been my day one sponsor since the very beginning. He's been there for me nonstop. Houston Spine and Rehab. They give me all of my pops and cracks and massages and stretching, and they're the preventative stuff. Get your massages, get yourself stretched and taken care of. Like don't sit with that back pain all day long trying to train on it. Blissful Waters. You guys have heard Joe Rogan talk about it. The sensory deprivation tanks. If I'm ever feeling any kind of way mentally, I just hit them up and I'm like, hey, I need to get a little mental relaxation. So they stick me in the chamber and I sit there for an hour and a half just chilling. and you get to, have the forced hallucinations from being in the dark room in the hot water or the warm water, and those things are amazing. And then Eric Pena Nutrition, Pena Performance. He's actually one of the top guys for getting your nutrition done right. He's helped me through the last 3 or 4 camps. He was there every step of the way through my cut. He taught me how to actually eat as a professional athlete, which I was doing wrong for so many years. He's also one of the reasons that my hand doesn't hurt as much as it could, is because I'm not eating the foods that will cause me to swell up, like, too much bread or gluten. So I thank him, so much. And then Loaded Pistols uh, made me this super awesome hoodie. This is my Heffernan MMA hoodie. They put it all together. They put my fight kits together. They hook up the team with fight kits, my walkout shirts, the Rise and Grind shirts. They're amazing, and they really step up. And then beyond that is granted, Kimura Tattoo Company is the one who gave me that super sweet finish bonus at the end of the fight. But Bayou City Tattoos here in Houston, they've been hooking me up with all my body ink since the very beginning of my career. Don't have to pay for them, which is nice. They send me money for the fights, which is also even better. So that Randy Lee, I appreciate you, brother. I'll be in to get this chest piece finish finally before the next fight camp starts, so that I can look a little bit more professional in the cage, not have a bunch of unfinished tattoos. Maybe that's why Dana's not letting me in yet. He's like, yeah, that guy needs to finish his tattoos. So just, the sponsorships are ever so important. And guys, for anyone who's watching that's a fighter, amateur, pro athlete, all they can do is, there's 2 answers to sponsorship, guys: yes or no. And guess what? If you ask 10 guys for sponsorship, only one of them has to say yes for you to start to support yourself with that. And and anything helps every fighter. $200, $500, $1,000. A pat on the back. Services like Houston Spine Rehab, they're awesome. They just invite me in to go get massages and chiropractic done once a week. So it's like, you gotta put yourself out there. You gotta ask those questions to be able to get supported. And then, beyond that, my wife and my kids, Nikita, I appreciate you. The fight camps are hard. We all know the fighters' wives go through quite a bit in camp with the diets and the hard training sessions and the late nights and the early mornings. And, so my family, I appreciate you guys so much. And, I can't wait to be getting those UFC paychecks so that you guys don't have to work and I can just take care of everything.